Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of council. It being 7 o'clock on July 16th, I'll call the meeting to order. Council, any concerns about the agenda? Any conflicts? Any amendments to the agenda? And if not, a motion to adopt is presented. Thank you and seconded. All in favor? Adopted. We're getting a little bit of echo, but okay, well, first off, it's my pleasure to proclaim July 20th to 26th as National Drowning Prevention Week in the District of Sechelt. And we have Linnea Grace who wants to say a couple of words. Ms. Grace, if you'd like to come up. Yep. Right. Oh, terrific.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Linnea Grace. I'm the Executive Director of the Life Saving Society for British Columbia and Yukon. And I also happen to be a Sunshine Coast resident. I live in Gibsons and I have for the past 8 years. So it's just a delight for me to join you this evening. I do want to share some more about the Life Saving Society and our mission as it applies to National Drowning Prevention Week. We are a national charitable organization. We work to prevent drowning through training. So many of you have probably either been through our Bronze Medallion, Bronze Cross, or National Lifeguard training yourselves, or had a friend or family member who's done so, as well as swim lessons, public education, research, and aquatic safety standards. We serve over 1.5 million Canadians per year through our programs. Canada faces a major problem and a preventable one. Drowning is completely preventable. This year alone, we've seen more than 20 drownings in British Columbia, and every year in Canada, over 450 people unfortunately die. National Drowning Prevention Week is our flagship public education week designed to raise awareness and call people to action to take steps to educate themselves and others to prevent future tragedies. We have events taking place across BC and Yukon, as well as the country, to focus media and community attention. And also within National Drowning Prevention Week, World Drowning Prevention Day falls on July 25th each year, which is Friday of this week. This week, we urge the public to supervise young children around the water, always keeping them within arm's reach, making sure that the public is focused on their kids and not on their phones, as we say. We're urging the public to stay sober, knowing that alcohol and substance use do not mix on the water. And we're urging folks to wear a life jacket or PFD when boating. So that includes power boating, kayaking, canoeing, and even paddleboarding, which a lot of people don't even think about when they get out on the waters. And that's regardless of age or ability, right? Because when you really need it the most, it won't work if you don't wear it. So those are our campaign themes throughout the week. You'll also go to our website at lifesaving.bc.ca to see each day's theme. And our overall theme for the week is Safer Together. And so we ask communities like Sechelt and others across the province, territory, and country to come together to raise awareness and prevent future tragedies. So I commend Sechelt on taking this step. And I also want to encourage the District of Sechelt to reach out to me or to the Life Saving Society to collaborate on any future water safety initiatives that you may want to. We're very fortunate to live on this land here in Sechelt, on the Sechelt Nation, the land between two waters. It is a cornerstone of our lives here. And I very much appreciate the intention that the council has decided to draw to this very preventable issue. So thank you very much for having me, and thank you for proclaiming NDPW.
And the microphone on there. Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Grace? No? Please.
Thanks. Thanks for coming. We are the land between two waters, and we have a really good aquatic facility next to us that you may know of or may not know of is having difficulty staffing it with lifeguards. And if council doesn't know that, I guess myself and Councillor Toth haven't been communicative enough, as that's one of the reasons why they have to shut down some days. They don't have enough lifeguards. So that's part of your training program to train lifeguards, I'm assuming. But when you think of Sea Shelton where it's located, is there anything we can do to help prevent drowning, i.e. should we have flotation devices or do they just get stolen? You know, things like that, that we could provide in some areas that would help. I mean, we do I forget what they're called, but there's one, it was stolen, but there's the thing for the heart out there that we do. So we do these things because we're always moving towards the continuing to preservation of life. So that's another thing that I would wonder about.
Good question.
Yeah, as I asked, is there anything that they could suggest that we could do land between two waters, like preservation, like flotation devices that we should be maybe providing, or do they just get stolen? Thanks.
Great, thank you.
So I appreciate your comment and question there. Just to respond, I do think there's concrete measures that can be taken. We do highly recommend public access life rings. And we have an aquatic safety services team that can make recommendations based on a waterfront audit and the needs of the community. But they have proven to be very necessary when needed, and we've seen a lot of success with them with other communities across the province. There are some communities that have had issues with people stealing the rings, but overall, the good definitely outweighs the bad there. There is a section on our website that outlines public access life rings, the benefits they provide, and how to contact us about installing one. We also recommend loaner life jacket stations. So this is something that we've seen at waterfronts across BC and Yukon, as well as the country. Essentially, they're exactly what they sound like. It's a hut, basically, that has a number of life jackets in different sizes that people are welcome to borrow when they are out on their boats or pleasure craft, or for small children or for non-swimmers that need that extra layer of protection. And again, we often hear the argument, oh, they'll get stolen, no one will keep this up. Well, you do have to take those costs into consideration, but the benefits far outweigh anything else. I also want to touch on your first comment regarding the lifeguard training at Sea Shelton Aquatic Center. They have a fabulous team there, first I want to say. I'm a regular swimmer there. I think I was their #1 swimmer during the pandemic. I was there every day. And I do know that they've been having challenges. Our team of staff and volunteers talk frequently with our affiliates. Seashell Pool, of course, is one of those affiliates. I do want to share some good news. The good news is that we have more lifeguards in our province than we've ever had. So last year alone, we certified 6,025 lifeguards. The year before, 6,040. Those numbers are almost triple the amount that were happening during the pandemic, and they're significantly higher than what was happening pre-pandemic. That doesn't mean there's not a problem here on the coast, though. I do know that the pool is offering incentives to train lifeguards and that they're, trying to grow their staff in that way. But there's always more we can do. And, they're always free to reach out to us for support. And we send national trainers out to help as well.
Great. Thank you. Okay, appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, council, we'll go to item 5.1. And this is the Childcare and Affordable Housing Project. And I believe we have some visitors, presenters from Colliers there.
Yes.
Hello, Ms. Rios. How are
Oh.
you?
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Thank you. So I guess, Ms. Lee, are you gonna?
Thank you. Yes. So I just wanted to introduce the topic. The housing project is back today because recently a special funding opportunity became available through BC Housing. So this changes the funding and ownership model and expands the project scope. So we're seeking council support in moving forward with this revised plan. So we have a presentation from Colliers today detailing the key changes with the project that come with this opportunity. And then BC Housing is present as well to answer any questions. So with that, I will offer it over to Colliers for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen here with the slides. Is it visible for everyone now?
Is indeed, thank you.
All right, perfect. Okay, so thank you for joining us, for having us here in your meeting. My name is Maria Sel. I am the PM for Colliers in this project, and I'm joined by my colleague, Somi Baikani, who's our project lead, as well as BC Housing Development Manager, Julia Shank, which, as Megan mentioned, she's leading the BC Housing initiative here. We're happy to join you to discuss these updates, and we'll go through your questions at the end. Okay, a bit of an agenda here. We'll go through a reminder of the project overview and some background information, and then the updates of the project scope, the partnership terms, and funding requirements from the update from that the presentation of the housing project is required. Okay, so a bit of a project overview. The project intends to construct a mixed-use project located at the 6000 Lighthouse Avenue, which was previously presented. The guiding principles are to provide childcare to the community, to enable childcare through affordable housing, ensure financial viability, and maintain financial accountability. These are the guiding principles that were presented in our last meeting. In the terms of the background information, the partnership with BC Housing was endorsed back in July of 2023. And in our last update in April, Council approved the intent for subdivision of the parcel and rezoning of for the affordable housing use, as well as the land title transfer to BC Housing to enable the use of BC Housing's equity funds, which were the source of residential funding at the time. We are now here to update you on, because BC Housing has presented the opportunity to participate in the Community Housing Fund as the funding source for the residential scope of work. The Community Housing Fund is an initiative that supports the development and operation of mixed income rental housing for low and moderate income households across the province. Participating in this program would increase the number of residential units available to the project, which is why it's a good opportunity to improve the outcomes here. As a quick reminder, the project scope includes 77 childcare spaces, 37 in facility, and 40 in coordination with the school district. Now, the target number of residential units is 40, which is an increase from previous preliminary projections. The childcare funding remains as the agreement with the Ministry of Education of Childcare, which is at 5.4 million. And with the new proposal, the residential funds would now be sourced through the Community Housing Fund instead of equity funds, which were dependent on the land transfer. And in this presentation, we'll go to what this means for the project. In what relates to the roles and responsibilities of the partners, the updated partnership terms are similar to the ones we have presented back in April, with the updated provision that BC Housing will seek the funding through the Community Housing Fund and will lead the application process. And the District of Sechelt will facilitate a short-term leasehold of the lot instead of a land transfer and strata corporation as presented previously. All other responsibilities were remaining the same, including the responsibilities of the Ministry of Education and Childcare, as well as the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society. This is essentially just funding for the childcare facility and to act as residential operator. In terms of the requirements of the community housing funds to be eligible for funding, a proposed project must reflect the following mix of rental units and income eligibility, which are 30% low to moderate income for market rent units, 50% rent geared to income units, and 20% deep subsidy limits. The project proposes approximately 40 units, so the 30% of that would be 12, which will be designated for the low to moderate income households. This bracket could support the childcare staff, which was the intention of bringing affordable housing towards the project. The feasibility study will aid in confirming the optimal number of units for the project to meet this requirement. In terms of other requirements, we have a short-term leasehold of the lot. The leasehold is required to meet eligibility, as BC Housing typically requires legal interest of the land, either through ownership or leasehold, to afford funding and proceed with procurement and development. Excuse me. This enables BC Housing to invest capital, proceed with the project without requiring the land transfer that was previously presented. At completion of construction, District of Sechelt will retain ownership while BC Housing will have the leasehold of the residential units. With confirmation through the feasibility study, it is anticipated that the rental revenues generated through the Community Housing Fund's mixed income model will be sufficient to fund maintenance, operation, financing, repayment, and long-term asset renewal, as well as there is ongoing operational costs that will further subsidize through BC Housing. Today, the requests for decisions for council are to approve the participation in the Community Housing Fund with the requirements presented for mixed income units and the short-term lease, and as well as providing short-term leasehold to BC Housing interest in the lot at 6,000 Lighthouse Avenue. And I'll move to questions now from the participants.
Okay, thank you. Council, it's over to us. Questions? Go ahead, Councillor Shepherd, then I saw Councillor Inkster.
I'll move the recommendation on page 4.
Thank you. Second.
Second that.
Thank you. And do you want to talk to it?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Oh, maybe if we could stop screen sharing, please, Ms. Rios.
Mhm.
Oops. Go ahead,
So,
Councillor Inkster.
thanks. I'm glad to see the increased funding on the housing portion. Because the units that will be devoted to childcare providers is important to continue to provide them employment as well as housing for a needed position in our community. But I'm glad to see the other form of housing. So I'm glad to see the increase because I always wanted to see that. I wasn't sure if they were going to fill it all up with the needed positions. So I'm glad to see more so that we can do more for our community. Those are just some of my initial thoughts. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Top.
Thank you. Just a quick question, which I think is for our corporate officer. If we're going to be entering into a long-term lease with BC Housing, as we go through these processes for them to build and own the units, I assume that's going to require us to advertise a disposition and all of those things that are typical with all of the long-term leases. And I saw a head nod, so I appreciate that confirmation. Thank you.
Their voice activated won't pick up head nods, but we'll go with that. I noticed in part of the presentation, the reference to short-term lease, and I don't know if this goes to you, Ms. Rios or Ms. Lee, but what is there doesn't seem to be a definition of what the lease term is, whether it's long-term or short-term. Go ahead, please.
This actually might be better answered by Julia from BC Housing if she's still on the line.
Didn't see Julia, did?
I'm here. Hi, Julia here with BC Housing. Yeah, so we're referring to the short-term lease as a mechanism for how BC Housing is going to partner on this project. With this particular funding program, there's not the same need to go through a full land transfer, which is what we were initially proposing. So this is just a different agreement that allows BC Housing to lead the development process on this particular parcel.
And so what is the term that you're contemplating, or how will we be calculating that?
In terms of how long the lease is?
Yes, how many years or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still working through the details, but typically, these are 60-year agreements, give or take. So I think we're still working out the specific details, but that's typically
60. That's short term.
If I can add to that, I think the short-term leasehold, and Julia can chime in if needed, is for the construction period while the asset is being constructed. Once completion is achieved and the occupancy has been organized, then leasehold of the air parcels of residential units would be a different type of agreement, which that would be the 60-year piece. So the short-term leasehold is really for access to the site and construction project, if I'm correct.
I see. So that the reference to short term is during the construction, but then there's essentially, many parts of the world, everything is leased because the king or somebody owns it, and So, okay, thank you. Clarifies it. Councillor Bell and then Inkster, please.
Yes, through the chair. My question is around project scope, around the childcare spaces. You've got 37 spaces for ages 0 to 5 and school age. Is that based on the need that you have data you have that's the need in Sechelt at this point or the Sunshine Coast?
Yes, the number of childcare spaces is a heritage from when the project was initially started. A proposal to the Ministry of Education and Childcare was presented for the New Spaces Fund, which is where the funding is coming from. And that's the scope of work that got approved at the time. Because there is an active agreement, we have to meet that scope of work. If it can be increased through financial feasibility, that would be ideal, but because of the available funding, this is the scope of work we are moving forward towards that feasibility study. I think if Karian is able to provide more context on it, but it's a heritage proposal that was presented to the ministry back in 2022 and 23.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, when the project was initially proposed back in, I guess it was 2020, the number of seats was recommended by a childcare provider who had recommended that ratio as the most optimal as far as providing staffing, making use of the different spaces that are available in any given facility. The ministry's requirement is that to complete the grant, 77 spaces must be provided, and the ratio can be customized to whatever the needs are at the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Thank you. Is that okay? Councillor Inkster.
Thank you. So I just want to start by saying I was hoping you would have done this yesterday, built this. We've been hoping for some time. I just think childcare spaces is just important for our community, but also it gives, as an example, mothers more choices. If you give them childcare spaces, gives them more choices for life. Some fathers, but mostly mothers, more choices for what they do with their work life and et cetera. So I'm sure we all know that. So it's really important for the social fabric of our community. But one of the things I was going to ask, and maybe planning will be part of this, is I just hope that when you put in that plan, and I'm assuming it's going to be multi-story, that I would love to see us get back to site planning so that we put the building in a particular spot, but don't go in, cut down all the trees, and then put in the building and then plant trees. That whole area is with all the government buildings in there, it's all treeless now. And wherever we put buildings, and we need to start thinking about climate change and how the children and the families will need shade. As we know right now, how hot it is that everyone runs to the shade or inside air-conditioned houses. So I hope that if you're working with planning or part of your own planning team, you consider a very thoughtful building there and try to retain as much as of the landscaping that exists, although it's natural, but a lot of the trees there, because I think we'll be smarter for it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. You think we'll take that as heard?
Yes, of course, that's very important feedback. And we are a good stage with feasibility study coming up to have this kind of considerations taken into account. So thank you for your feedback.
Very good. Others, Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Thank you, through the chair. I just want to commend the agencies involved for doing a great job. It's a complicated project for us, but the co-location is really ideal, especially being so close to a school. I would like to see more of these done close to schools to make affordable housing near schools so that families do not need multiple cars, and it simplifies their lives and makes it so kids are really in the community, can walk to school and have services and to daycare, et cetera, just a healthy lifestyle. So I really appreciate all the work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll pick up on that. What is the plan around transit? And like, this is close to transit, but the public transit, of course, I'm more interested in. With affordable housing in particular, I think the expectation is many people would depend on public transit. Has that factored into our plans? please, Ms.
There is transit nearby.
Yes.
So it is, the proximity is quite close to the arena where the bus already goes. So the expectation is that that would service anyone living.
Right.
It's less than a block.
Okay, perhaps I'd just flag it because I think it's about every 2 hours.
So as part of the BC Transit planning, that's something that is more as more residential units go out there and different types of housing, then we can advocate for more frequent service. So this certainly would be more rationale for increasing service.
Mhm.
But again, that's through planning with BC Transit.
So, great. So we can get in front of them early and, I mean, we need more public transit on that side as the density increases anyway. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
and we do regularly meet with
Yeah.
BC Transit.
very good. Thank you. Anything else? How long is this all going to take? To Councillor Inkster's point, can we have it built tomorrow? See you again. Ms. Rios?
Well, I hope it could be that fast. We are looking into starting construction, I believe, towards the end of 2026. We're working through the design process, which will take a bit of time, coordination and everything. As I mentioned, we are in the feasibility study stage. We'll present a more updated timeline once financial feasibility is confirmed and we have better details on the scope and approach for the project.
Okay, thank you. Time ends up costing money, so the sooner we can get it going, I think, very good.
Thank you.
The last questions, council? Ready for the question? All in favor of the motion to approve as on page 4 of our agenda package? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Rios, and
Thank you.
yeah. Okay, council, with that, we will go to item 5.2, Car Free Day on Cowrie Street. And we're gathered September 6th is the plan. It's noon to 4 p.m. And great opportunity to actually experience the streets of Cowrie without driving on them. Any council, does somebody? Thank you, Councillor Toth, and seconded. Any questions? Please.
Thank you. And I guess this is more a process question than anything in that. So this is a one-off event that we're authorizing. But we don't really, I don't recall seeing these sort of things for like the car club and other events that close off Cowrie Street. And so I'm wondering, you know, if somebody wants to run an event that sees Cowrie Street closed, the usual process, yeah, just looking for a highlight there. Thanks.
Great. Yeah. Do you want to help us?
Certainly, I can provide a little bit of information just procedurally. This particular event is looking for an endorsement for a liquor license, and so that requires a council resolution. Other events may not have that same requirement.
Is that okay? Great. Okay. Please, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you. Through the chair, I remember attending a Car Free Day with my daughter in Victoria.
Oh, sorry, it is.
In Victoria. And I'm just wondering, are there going to be child-based activities like chalk painting and stuff like that? I imagine you'll have to fence off your beer garden if that's the case, but I hope that there will be because.
Yes, we're getting a nod
Yeah.
from our source in the back. Yeah. Broad, attractive to everybody, right? Okay, great, thank you. Council, I'll call a question if that's all right. It's all in favor. Carried. Terrific, thank you, council. Then we move to item 5.3, which is another liquor license application for The Breeze. And I will turn this over to who? Who's handling this? Mr. Hall, there. Fire away.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So yeah, we have the application for the required license for the new restaurant at the Telus Marina site here. similar to the other liquor licenses, they're all seeking the same kind of thing that council has kind of sought public comments on that. We've referred it out to various agencies like the RCMP, et cetera. So we have comments. We forwarded a number of public comments we received to council earlier today in the late afternoon. So otherwise, it's here for your decision. I would note that we can certainly include, council can certainly propose conditions to the province if there's concerns around noise or events or things like that. We can certainly make our recommendations to the province. They will also need to come back for a business license with us for the restaurant. So we could also consider conditions for the business license too. So there's a few different ways of getting at any issues that might come up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Councillor Tough.
Thank you, Chair. Generally supportive. I've seen, lots of comments there coming in from people both in favor and opposed. To sort of summarize the opposition, it seems to be concerns around noise in the neighborhood, which I think is fair given the encroachment of residential into a formerly industrial area. And so I appreciate Mr. Hall's comment about, being able to add some conditions, because it sort of made a note that, maybe we make it a stipulation that there's no outdoor amplified music permitted beyond 8 p.m. was the sort of the number that came to my mind. I'd be interested in council's thoughts on that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
Thanks. Yeah, obviously, these businesses that need liquor licenses, and it looks like a nice location. And I was just wondering how many residents, I'm trying to, I know exactly the building. I was looking at it from an opposite angle just the other night, I'm not sure how many residences are close in that area to be affected by it, that are up close. So that's a question. But also too, yeah, if it's a noise concern, because it doesn't sound like it's an alcohol concern, but maybe just noise with bands is maybe, yeah, we look at buffers and or the direction of the music out towards the water. So I'm certainly generally supportive of these kinds of liquor licenses, because if you're in business, you know that it's a piece that you need to have an incentive and or to add to your profit margin at the end of the day. Thanks for the longevity. Thanks.
Okay, so your question was how many residences might be impacted? I mean, I think it's fair to say, everybody in Edgewater, pretty much, and then going the other way, there are some residences going north. I'll let you ponder that. Councillor Bell, did you have
Yeah, actually, I'll make a comment just in support of Councillor Toth's comment. I recall we had a situation or a business that came to us where there was a complaint, and we did put a stipulation around the time in terms of music, and it was later, and then we made it earlier, and it seemed to work fine. So I think it is good to have that opportunity for a condition. Certainly there is the factor that music does carry very well across the water. And so we do need to have that condition available to us at a later date. Thank you.
okay, so your comment is we could modify this perhaps if there's an issue?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just following up on and to your comment that we do have an opportunity for conditions at some point in time in the process. So does that need to be made now or later in the retro?
It's certainly worth making it to the province now. I mean, this is our opportunity to give the province recommendations from council to address whatever issues we deem necessary. Whether or not the province will accept those and put those conditions in is another thing, but now would be the time to let the province know what we'd like to see in the license. At the same time, they'll need a business license from the district, and that's under our control what conditions we would put there. So whether or not we're doubling up in the business license on stuff that's in the provincial license, or if the provincial license doesn't have anything in it, we still have the business license we can address.
Am I right? The feedback we've had from the public outreach has identified noise, but hasn't been prescriptive about nothing after 8 o'clock or.
I don't recall any specifics
yeah.
like that. It was more, I think, just the concern with the rooftop patio. The fact that, noise from there, whether it's amplified music or other things, will be the main source of noise, but
You should go to a party at Councillor Shepherd's house if you want to hear noise. Councillor Inkster.
Do wonder about that too. Councillor Shepherd's. The Lighthouse Pub, I mean, we don't have restrictions on their noise. I mean, that comes straight out, do we?
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, it's one of, I mean, 12 or 1, sometimes the bands play. I don't know what people hear out there. I don't know what people hear in East Porpoise Bay, which is the neighborhood we're talking about. So I just wonder.
Lighthouse bother people in Edgewater? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's a good distinction. Please, Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. I think in the case of the Lighthouse, they don't really have a real stage or a band area. So they keep the music fairly low, live music. Maybe they play recorded music louder, but that's just my experience here. It looks like they will have more of a floor here where they could perhaps have more bands. And I just had a question too. I've heard sometimes bars or restaurants will have a special event license. And I wonder if that's anything that might be something to think about, whether that might make for more noise in a certain situation or if that has any impact at all. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anything you can offer us, Mr. Hall?
yeah, I mean, we typically haven't really been involved in the special event licenses. We'll
Right.
get notifications from the province on those, but unless they're proposing something that is triggering some kind of requirement for that the province needs a response from us on, we're usually not a part of those. I mean, their operating hours they're not proposing any different operating hours, so they're going to be complying with the noise bylaw, with all the regular things. So if they were proposing to extend liquor service beyond a certain time, or to do like I think they call it patron participation, like they're going to have karaoke or things like that, that also triggers a requirement for a license from the province, comes through us. So there's things like that that would still have to come back through us for review.
Okay, karaoke conjures up all kinds of images of strata council meetings and other things. Councillor Bell,
Then I will make a motion
please.
to a motion for a condition. Help me with this motion.
How about you go to page 25? of the
25,
agenda?
yeah, a motion to, for condition to put into this application to the province for no music on the outside deck past 8 p.m.
Seconded,
Yeah, I
okay.
just want to get it out there.
Can I, not sure if you can answer this, Mr. Hall, but if we, after a year, if we wanted to change that, is it, we find it's not an issue or something, is by doing it now, are we setting an issue we can't change later? Well, no, I'm assuming the business license would mirror this, but let's say in a year or two, the neighbors came to us and said that we actually don't mind. I'm just curious, is this a one-time restriction? We're restricting it forever, or can we support a modification in a couple of years?
Good question. We'd probably have to inquire with the province about that. I'm sure there's a way to get those kinds of changes, because ultimately the main focus of the license is on other things. So
Yeah.
if we've, but I think there would be a process for them to consider those kinds of
Yeah.
changes. But we can follow up on that.
I may have missed it, but because I don't think there's any reference in the report to when they are the operating hours. Did I miss that? for the.
There wasn't a reference, but they're just proposing the normal operating hours to kind of comply with our bylaw.
Our noise and stuff, so close at 11 kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Okay, Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, thanks. I guess because this is, as we discussed, in the middle of a residential area, that's we're worried about the noise bylaw, but I can't find anything here. It just seems like a restaurant to me. I remember many years ago when people applied for a fine dining restaurant, we wouldn't have to put restrictions on music, but all of them are starting to introduce music, and that's sort of changing the industry a little bit, because years ago there were just, Pebbles and Blue Heron they were restaurants. And, well, other than weddings maybe that they hosted, they were fairly quiet and done by 9. So maybe it's the nature of the industry changing.
Yep, probably true. So Councillor Bell, just to confirm, the motion is only about the roof, or are you making the motion on page 25 with the? Okay, so if we vote on that, then we'll do the recommendations on page 25 with that amendment. Okay. All right, anything else on the motion to restrict noise after 8 PM on the upper deck?
Sorry,
So
just to
Shepherd.
get some clarification,
Mhm.
that's live music or just music entirely?
Aye. Noise. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay, so that's clear. It's music of whatever form. Okay. And it's seconded. I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you. So 1, 2, and 3 with the, yeah, I think. Yes, I think that stands on its own as worded here. I think we don't need to modify anything. Yeah. Okay, seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Great, thank you, Mr. Hall. Without further ado, then, council, we go to item 5.4, which is the financial plan schedule. And I believe Mr. Douglas. Oh. Excuse. You're going to the breeze? You got 17 minutes to make music. Okay, very good. Council, oops. So, Mr. Douglas, over to you.
Yeah, attached to the report is a schedule for the 2026 budget timeline. It's aggressive. It's to be done sooner than later in the year. Yes, there may be a few dates that we have to shift a little bit, so there's a little bit of flexibility built into it, but the budget, Quesica has been open to staff now, and so we're starting the budget process as we speak. And this is just to set the goals really for the budget process this year.
Okay, thanks. Any questions, council? So you mentioned Questica. Did we use it at all last year?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So the training that you're referencing is more, I don't know, improving and.
Well, no,
Fully
yes, a little bit, but it's more when you use this, when some staff only use the software once a year, you have to go back and just revisit the use of it again, and then off they go. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, great. Council, we have a recommendation from staff to approve the schedule. Moved, second. Any discussion? Councillor McLaughlin?
Yes, I just want to check. Does this mean that I have to have all my decisions made and ideas brought forward in detail before Christmas?
Yes.
You're a tough taskmaster. Thank you.
I think that's a compliment. Okay, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, then we go to item 5.5, a notice of motion from Councillor Toth regarding supportive housing. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I think generally the motion speaks to its, to the issue, to what we're looking for. This supportive housing review that the province is undertaking does not include any municipal participation at this time from any size of municipality. And so when I was drafting the resolution, I was contemplating, requesting an opportunity for the district of Sechelt or, other municipal governments to provide meaningful representation. But this is our council, this is our motion. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So I think Sechelt asking for a seat at this table is the prudent course. And even if it gets the government thinking, well, maybe not Sechelt, but maybe Victoria or maybe, whatever, Kamloops. Making sure that there's municipal representation at that table that can provide some of the operational impacts that service providers just aren't going to be aware of is going to be absolutely critical. So with that, I'm happy to move the motion that I've got on the page here.
I'd promised Councillor Toth I would second it, so please, Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, but it's, I wasn't gonna support it until he quoted Gretzky. And I was fully supportive, but, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's see what happens.
Great. Other question, Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, I have no questions. I'm supportive of it. Supportive housing is turning into really one of the most important issues facing the community. So let's ask for a seat at the table with the province. And I hope something comes of it in some role because it's critical here. Thanks.
Okay, if I don't see any, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm a little concerned about Sechelt lining themselves up for more work. But I agree that, at least if we asked and it's Sechelt, well, then we'll just have to do the work. But at least we'll get it in before them and maybe they'll choose another municipality or group of municipalities. So it's a step in the right direction, so I'll support it. Thanks.
Very good. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. And I didn't include it in the motion, but whether Sechelt appoints, a member of council or a member of staff or somebody from the community safety committee, I think is something that we would need to decide if the province decides to include us. I honestly could see an organization like UBCM playing a really important role in this, but in the absence of that signaling, I think it's important that we get out in front of it. So thank you.
Yep, I totally agree. And we've seen that in other communities where they have expressed their frustration. They haven't been included early. So I think this is a good way to start. If there's nothing else, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Terrific. Thank you, Councillor Toth. Okay, Council, and we go to item 5.5, which is notice of motion from me regarding small change in our process. Not to be long-winded about it, but we've had a scenario where if people are watching on YouTube, they can, at the end of our formal meeting, that feed is cut. But if they're watching on Zoom, they can continue to watch our question period. This came up some months ago in chatting with some other mayors and some started, I was quite interested how some are doing it. And the motion here reflects generally what I was thinking was a good idea, but one of our regular public participants emailed me today and she has a proposal to modify my motion, but perhaps it's more prescriptive. So perhaps I'll start with entertaining any questions first. And, yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
It's not a question. I'm generally, look, if it's extending the YouTube coverage for the questions, I mean, I have no objection to that. I'm not in favor of introducing questions at the beginning of the process just because it tends to, the meetings turn out to be long enough as they are. And if we block off time for questions, especially if they don't have to do with the agenda, before the meetings, it's just another issue that pushes out the timing of them. So I would support the motion if there was a deletion in B of it to delete, include a question period at the beginning.
Okay, thank you. For now, we're discussing, so, yep, please, Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, and I'd rather them have questions at the beginning on the agenda items, not questions after. I'm a little uncomfortable with questions going down the road as, why didn't you support that? Or Councilor Smith, what was your issue with that after the decision's been made? So I'm more comfortable with questions on the agenda items beforehand. Thanks.
Okay, maybe this is the time to introduce the proposal from my friend. I think this came to everybody, is that the beginning of the meeting, questions would only be accepted regarding an item on the agenda. And the number of questions would be limited to 6, with consideration given to those in the gallery and other electronic media. So the substance of that is, if we were to have them at the beginning, it has to be on matters on the agenda. At the end of the meeting, questions can be asked on any municipal issue, which indeed is what we have now, albeit outside of the formal meeting. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I'm fine with extending the YouTube coverage after the meeting. I mean, the regional district does it. There have been times where there have been inappropriate questions or comments, and staff have had to go back and remove the question period from the recording or edit it because it's not appropriate to be posted publicly. So I'd be interested in hearing staff's feedback about having to, the potential to make edits to the YouTube stream or to the YouTube videos after the fact before supporting it. But my concern with doing something at the start of the meeting is that, like, if we want to have, a town hall event, let's have a town hall event. Having question and answer period at the start of the meeting, I suspect will get a lot of questions, or not even questions, but ramblings or rants or opinions about items that haven't even been introduced on the agenda yet, that we don't have the presentation from staff yet. And so how do we answer those questions if the presentations haven't been given yet? So I'm not supportive of something at the beginning, and I'm interested in hearing staff's opinion on possible need to edit the YouTube feed after the fact if there's something inappropriate. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Not sure who to look to. Timidly, please.
To comment on the YouTube video editing question first, it is a little bit cumbersome when it comes to editing the videos. It certainly is possible. It requires immediately removing them from the public website, and then it can take some time to do that. If you'd like me to also comment on the other portion of the question, I can only speak anecdotally from what I've heard from other municipalities and my colleagues in different areas of BC, but generally, opening the meeting with a question and answer period, it is exactly what you had suggested, Councillor Toth. It can set a different tone for the meeting, and it certainly can raise questions that not everybody has the answers for yet. Although I believe our CAO may have some direct experience if you wanted to share those.
Thanks for that nod. Yes, I've had a fair bit of experience in different municipalities with this. It is normally turned into, as you mentioned, a town hall. It can often get out of control. It's very hard to reel it back in at that point. So it's not a recommendation I would make for you to do a Q&A at the beginning. I think it's problematic. As far as the YouTube portion of it is concerned, I haven't heard a big hue and cry from the public to get the questions recorded. So I'm not really sure the need for it, but if that's what you want us to do, we'll go through the the work of doing it, but it'll take some time, as it was pointed out.
To edit it is the time, yeah. Okay, I mean, I think we've had a lot of opportunity over the last 2 years. I can't think of a question that has needed to be excised, but I mean, it's certainly always possible. Councillor McLaughlin, please.
Yes, thank you to the chair. I'm generally not in support of this. I think I did request, I know I did, that the YouTube questions be included in the recording earlier for the questions at the end, and I was told, no, we are not going to do that. So my concern here is that now we're getting a year away from elections and campaigning, and I don't think we should be campaigning early. But I think it's depends on how the mayor chairs the meeting. He uses his discretion a lot, which I guess is his prerogative, but I'm not confident that it will not be very disruptive and possibly spread a lot of misinformation and just create havoc, I think, at the beginning of the meeting. If people want to come, they can come as a delegation and talk about whatever they want. And I don't see that many doing that, but they're always free to do that if they do have a beef and they do want to come and talk to us. Thank you.
Okay, I'd offer you one distinction, and thanks to our corporate officer for reminding me. We do in our procedures bylaw suspend question period regardless of whether it's on YouTube or not between the nomination day and the voting day. So that part is already in our procedures bylaw, and I'm certainly not proposing we change that. The rest is about making others able to see what people come and ask questions. It's not about what we're saying. We're responding to questions and just making that available. Councillor Top.
And that's exactly my concern. We have had personal attacks in the question and answer period against members of this council. I've been the target of one of them, or a couple of them, including one drunken rambling citizen. And you yourself, Mr. Mayor, have been target of some of these attacks. And I would say that they don't have a place in the permanent recording of the meeting. So, thanks.
Okay. Well, I'll follow procedure. I'm going to modify my motion to embrace what was contributed by a friend of council, so that item, well, I'm going to keep it simple. I will, in terms of B, I think I will agree with Councillor Shepherd. Let's just remove the question period at the beginning. I think if people want to ask questions about the agenda, they can come early and ask any of us about it. But then I think I certainly still am of the view, in spite of there being occasional inappropriate actions, I think it's very relevant that we allow people to ask questions and that's public. As I think I mentioned at the beginning, people that are so inclined can see those questions and indeed can record them themselves if they're using Zoom. So I think we're just staying up with technology to publicize the questions, and if people are inappropriate, we'll have to try and deal with it at that time. In some ways, it's good to have a recording if they are inappropriate, because we can use that perhaps to educate them. So my motion at the bottom of the page 37, I would make the motion as written, albeit with removing in the second to last line a question period at the beginning and, so that it would simply be to include a question period at the end of the formal part of our meetings, with questions limited to 2 minutes per question. And that's my motion. Is that a second, Councillor Inkster? Is there a seconder? Second, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Inkster.
I was trying to find a compromise when this was put forward by yourself and by a citizen that looked for a compromise. And I was okay with that if it's the questions on the agenda items. I'm a little uncomfortable with after the meeting, because then the questions may be reflective of our council's reasoning and decision making. Because why would why would the question be any different from the ones at the beginning that were on the agenda items? Obviously, they're most likely reflective of the deliberations. And certainly, if the chair and or members of council are uncomfortable with those questions and maybe have some sort of way of dealing with it, the toothpaste will already be out of the tube once it's done. So I'm going to go back to looking for compromise and looking at questions on the agenda items at the beginning, and that's what I'll be supporting. And that's obviously not on the table, so that's where I'll put my vote. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, so you're in favor of questions at the beginning of the meeting, but not at the end. That,
Yeah,
am I
because
hearing you correctly?
they're reflective of the, I mean, if in fact, I mean, maybe we'll have to change it later, but it's just a compromise. It's reflective of the agenda items, not reflective of the decision-making processes made by council, which may go down to personal attacks or personality attacks or decision thought processes, which we've seen, and any of those that have run for office, been elected, and or people that witnessed that would not be comfortable with things.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Not, I'll call the question, and so it's recorded, so yes,
Mr.
Councillor
Chair,
Bell.
could you please repeat this? What have we got?
So it's page
Yeah,
37.
Got it, but what have we
Okay.
got on the table? Or-
So everything on page 37, except the second last line, we delete at the beginning and. So it reads to include a question period at the end of the formal part of our meetings with questions limited to 2 minutes. Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is defeated. All right, council. We'll continue with item 5.7. And this one is, I think it's a reflection. Council certainly had a time to review this, and it's a reflection of the economic times we live in. It's a reflection of our duty to make sure we are delivering the best services and the most necessary services that we can, as a community, afford. So you've all seen the media, whether it's the federal government with their spending and their debt capacity, the provincial government, and indeed other municipalities. The city of Vancouver a few weeks ago put out a challenge, I suppose, to identify how it would look to have different increases in the tax increases for the future. So this is my effort to challenge all of us, and certainly to have staff provide us with ideas that we can deliberate on to find ways to continue to deliver great service. I want to emphasize, as far as I'm concerned, this is an open book. I did put it in the whereas section of the motion that this is not with any preconceived idea of reducing staff or indeed reducing any particular item. But I am concerned that the expectation that we can continue to have tax increases each year of somewhere between, I believe it's 4% and 6% for the next 5 years is not a prudent course of action. So that's the first major part. The second, of course, deals with what I believe to be very, very significant costs that we are funding for services that are downloaded to us by other agencies and governments. And so that is why this is before you. Oh, Councillor Shepherd, please.
Yeah, this is, I would agree that concern over the tax rate increases over the last few years has become really one of the most significant issues I think that I'm hearing about from people. Just in the last week, I've heard from two people with diametrically opposite views of how the district should be run, and yet they both agree that the tax increases have been too high or unsustainable. So, you know, to put it in proper context, how this should be done, though, it was really Councillor Rowe at the end of the 2025 budget process who said, look, let's have a special meeting in June or July of this year to sort of focus on how to tackle that issue. And then this comes out of sort of left field. So I think it's a bit unusual. I think it should be handled within our 2026 tax budget review process. The thing that jumps out at me, and you know, this has been commented before, I think the last time this idea came from the mayor of cutting things by $2 million, it's $2 million means cutting staff. We really have to deal with this. And look, if that's the idea, that's absolutely fine. You know, come forward with, but you know, I think the mayor's an experienced mayor of running the district. If there are proposals on cutting staff, let's be transparent and say we should cut these number of positions to meet that $2 million. I would rather deal with it up front rather than sort of asking staff to go into all of this work when the mayor is very experienced. This council now has gone through, even though it's first term for a couple of us, a number of budgets now. So we can make decisions fairly quickly, some very difficult ones. So I'm not supportive of this. I'm supportive of the idea that we really have to tackle the tax increase issue, but I can't support this measure in particular. Thanks.
Okay, I need to respond. What I put out some months ago was a way to either reduce our spending or to recover our costs. And I certainly favor recovering the costs. It's egregious that we are covering so many services, providing services, whether it's police, public safety, it's in my motion. So no, I don't have a preconceived idea. And indeed, I would push back. It is up to our staff. And I have asked questions over the last couple of months with a view to trying to get some data so that we could have a back and forth. So this is a tough time, and that's my fundamental issue. It's a tough time in this community and all across Canada. So yes, if it does come to that place where we have to look at staffing, I have to do it, but my goal here is not to reduce staff. Yes?
Finally,
Yep.
if I could just reply to that, a follow-up. You know, analysis at this stage is not what we need. We know the basics of the budget. It's having the political will to make the tough decisions.
Right, which is, this is one of them.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's suggesting a $2 million figure. I don't know where that comes from. But we have the ability to make the decisions. So I don't, I'm not in favor of more analysis. And I think we should be doing this in the budget process for 2026 rather than handling this outside of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps that's what I assume. This would give us guidance, and we're in the middle, or we're starting our budget process. So that was part of why I wanted to get ahead of this with August 15th, because if we want to keep to the schedule we've just approved, we need to address some of these things now. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. When we talked about $2 million last time, your motion was not about trying to get the province to cough up $2 million for services that we provide that we shouldn't. It was about cutting $2 million from the District of Sechelt's operating budget. And that's 20 to 25 staff, or, 10-ish RCMP officers. I think if we're going to look at cuts to staffing or service levels or whatever, That's on us to make motions. I am not okay with us asking our staff, tell us where you think we should gut your organization. That's not appropriate. And you know, when I look at number 2 in the clause on page 39, itemized list of all services provided, including but not limited to policing, public works, parks, bylaw enforcement, and administration. I mean, technically, the district of Sechelt doesn't need to be a district municipality. We could unincorporate and give it all back to the regional district. Everything that we do as a government is because our citizens want it. Our citizens elect people to sit at this table to make decisions on service levels and on enhancements to make this a better community. And I think that this is, honestly, I think this is some Doge level crap. And so I can't support any part of this motion. Thanks.
Others?
Well, I also ditto, basically. I will not support this either. The one thing that I do want to comment on is that at some point in time, and I just, it fits in with, where are we here now? Number 2, which is looking at the cost of what some of the services that we're providing. And we talked about this before in terms of, you know, paramedics, whether it's doing the mental health work, frontline work that we're doing, our first responders are doing because of the lack of social services, et cetera, support. We're being downloaded by the province, and we know that we're taking on a lot of this at the municipal level. I, at some point, would like to look at that, and I'd like to see what those costs are, but in a different context from this. So I'm not supporting this motion.
What does a different context look like? How do we get to that?
That on the second point 2
Mhm.
would be that at, I mean, I would look at how we can look at working with, and this is whether it's fire, paramedics, et cetera, well, how we can get some of those costs. I don't have the wording for it, but I think it's important that we at some point put that into a plan to start to look at that. I was in one of the sessions at one of our conferences, and one of the mayors was very vocal about this. And I think it was actually it was the mayor of Terrace. And he talked about this and said, I'm tired of this, the province downloading all of these services to us. And this is what it's costing our community. And he had those numbers, and they were significant. It was pretty impressive. I'd like to see those numbers, but that's what I would support. But as far as number 1, I see that as part of a process of how we can work together with the team to get this. I don't see I will not support number 1. I see them as 2 different things, to be honest.
Yes, and I accept that. And agree with that, actually. So you're saying you're inclined or perhaps supportive of 2, but not of 1. Thank you. Okay, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you through the chair. I was quite upset when I saw this, but I'm not that upset now because I can see that there is a lot of agreement that you say on the one hand, it's not about cutting staff. And then on page 39, item 1, provide the following in writing of all this information that staff's supposed to find about how to cut staff.
No.
Well, you want to know all the information on it. Why would you want that? Because you want to increase staff? No, you want to cut staff.
Potentially.
Yeah,
No,
that's why.
there's no.
So that's why I'm saying that. And staff, I'd like to say, is not a commodity, okay? I feel you are looking at it as if it's a commodity, it's a number, and I find that really impersonal. For a place that I always said, this is not just a corporation, this is a local government, and it's got a people side to it about providing services and caring about your staff and having a positive environment for all of the citizens. Now, when we start cutting things willy-nilly, if you do have that list and you decide to do that, who loses services? I feel the people that will lose services will probably be the ones that most need it. And I don't really want to.
Councillor McLaughlin, that would be our decision.
Well, it would.
Which one?
But I don't feel.
How do you
any
make the-
information is valid because I think it's.
So how do you
we
make
have a process
decisions?
Already, and excuse me, can I finish? I don't need a commentary. We have a decision and Councillor Rowe put forward that other counselors here have said we will go through. And that is what we will do. And so I'm not really going to get too up in arms about this because I feel it's just kind of out of the blue. And I believe it is part of a neo-liberal or conservative agenda to just say, well, this is what other places are doing and I want to do it too. It's like, no, I'll tell you, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take that approach. I want to take a more wholesome, social, caring, sharing, all the things our strategic plan says we're supposed to do to this. Thank you.
Okay, been a couple of comments that I've come very close with a couple of counselors. I'd caution you to please watch the use of language or allegations about anybody, including me, or for that matter, any other council. You don't know what my thoughts are, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So to accuse me of whatever it is, neoliberal or neoconservative, I find that somewhat amusing because I'm not sure if that's left or right. But point is, we have some tough decisions to make. If you guys have some other ways to do it, why didn't you bring them back in the last few months? So I'm trying to do this. The role of the mayor is to show leadership and bring things forward. If you're not happy with it, that's entirely fine and we'll move on. But we are not going to address this structural issue of a plan that contemplates increases in taxation without providing enough money for our infrastructure renewal. So there's a big decision, a series of decisions that have to be made, and I'm happy for somebody else to come up with ways to do that. Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, that is a serious issue, but now you're sort of saying that we're not setting enough money for infrastructure replacement, and we're sort of going into another area. So, or is it the downloaded costs that are the problems? This is a minefield, this issue. I think all of council coming out of the last 2025 budget, we're absolutely in agreement, everyone at the table, that we cannot sustain an 8.62% increase and keep doing that every year. So everyone was in agreement over that. So this is an effort to tackle that. I appreciate it. But as I said before, when it was raised, I think that's too severe a cut to just chop out $2 million out of the budget. And I guess I have my own ideas about how we can contain costs, but I'll raise those at the 2026 budget meeting process. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Councillor Toth.
Thank you. You'd mentioned the infrastructure deficit, and the District of Sechelt is committed to a 3% tax increase every year for infrastructure renewal and, put into our asset management plan. And, a number of comments were made during the budget process about whether we should increase that to 4 or 5%. But staff work on motions, and nobody at the time made a motion to that effect to actually increase it. So I think it's been quite interesting to see the sort of motions that have come out of a budget process that, Mr. Mayor, you didn't attend the whole budget process. There were a couple of meetings that you came in late and you dropped a bomb on us at the last minute in the meeting. And I think, to vote in favor of 5.4, which was the 2026 budget process timeline, and then to come forward with this motion to provide this information no later than August 15th, I assume you mean 2025. What you're actually asking staff to do is drop everything they're doing, including preparing for the 2026 budget, in order to put all this information together. I assume that our breakdown on headcounts and exempt and non-exempt staff is a fairly straightforward thing. But detailed explanations of senior management's methodology for measuring productivity, deciding when FTE increases or decreases are warranted, what services are considered core, those are things that are not just in a file folder sitting on the CAO's desk waiting to be handed to council. That's a significant undertaking. And for item number 2, Councillor Bell mentioned that, you know, other communities have done a lot of this work, and that's great. And I would love for us to find out how much we're spending on other governments' services that have been downloaded to us. That's great. Let's have that conversation. But to ask staff to just throw everything they're trying to do out the window so that they can work on this, I don't think is appropriate, and I think it's needlessly inflammatory. Thanks.
Councillor Shepherd.
So I think I'm hearing general agreement on item 2 of page 39, interest from council or support.
Yeah,
In your
with-
hands.
Sorry.
I've said what I'm going to say, other than we face a serious issue and somehow we have to deal with it. If it means changing what we're doing, we need to do that. Councillor Bell, please. Councillor Inkster?
Yeah, I guess I'll say a few things. I'm not even sure about number 2. We haven't really asked staff how they would proceed in that direction to provide the information that's listed there. So it's another difficult piece to this. The challenge with this is that we've had 3 opportunities, this council and yourself have had 3 opportunities to introduce some changes and or some cuts. And honestly, the reason there's elections and it's not done by robots is the buck stops with an elected council. So you can't say to staff, go find savings. You have to introduce them at budget time and see if council goes for that. To tell staff to come up with it is
This is not what the motion says.
very challenging.
The motion doesn't say that.
Well, where however you want to proceed, previous discussions you've had on it was to task
But
staff.
the motion in front of us,
Yeah.
if you read the motion,
Yeah.
ask for data
Yeah.
so that we can make decisions of what you're talking about.
Oh, well,
You can't make decisions without data.
Okay, so you could probably, with your background, create that data yourself rather than once again asking staff. You're an accountant. You could do that. You could do that research. So once again, we're asking them to do things that are to put everything else aside and do that. The other problem is that this does speak to potential cuts. It's even the discussion of it is hard on morale. But say we go outside our organization, we don't look at our own organization on cuts. We just say, let's go out to the library. Let's tell them they can be open Monday to Tuesday for 3 hours each. This community would love that. Or we'll cut RCMP. 10 was mentioned by Councillor Toth, but let's say 3 to 5 when we have a crime problem. This speaks to the problems and the decisions that we have to make as elected officials. Where do we cut? What services are we prepared to affect? How are we going to stand up and say, we've made those decisions? You need to propose them. Otherwise, this information that's presented for probably the 3rd time, just honestly, it's a challenge. It looks a lot like sloganeering, and it's dog whistle. It's dog whistle politics, and it's red meat. It's red meat for some in our community. I would prefer to see the mayor bring forward actual proposals and that we can discuss at budget time for, and that would probably include cuts. The other piece, though, is why don't we talk to the external levels of government? Because there's only one taxpayer in Canada. People forget that when we go to the upper levels of government, look for money from them, because that money just doesn't come from nowhere. Why don't we talk to them about giving municipalities 1% of the GST? Why don't we talk to the government about giving us more of the gas tax? Why don't we talk to the government about giving us lottery money? We're looking at some form of taxation that doesn't have a hit on consumption to give to municipalities to deal with their costs. That's what we should be doing. That's what we should be lobbying about. That's what we should be presenting rather than this cut-based approach, which will just affect morale. Thanks.
Okay, well, I'll only respond again. First, yes, to all of the above, trying to advocate for monies from other orders of government, I totally support. I don't happen to think we'll be very successful because none of the other orders of government have money. Their spending is much more extreme. They're going into deficit every year. but doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And it's the same thing. Yeah, I'm agreeing with your point, but it's also along the same lines that one of the ways they don't tax more is they download services on us. And I stand by everything in here. We make the decisions and the recommendations based on data. And no, I don't have that data. It's not the mayor's job or indeed council's job to produce that data. It is our staff's job. So if you don't need this data, that's a good discussion. But if you don't need this data, what data do you need to be able to make the recommendations that you're suggesting need to be made? And I challenge all of you, what is it that you want to hear? What do you need to know so that you can make informed decisions? Because that's what this is, an effort on my part. It is not about cuts or about anything, any preconceived idea, other than knowing that the type of increases we're contemplating are not sustainable. And I will not apologize for that or anything. Yes, Councilor Inkster.
I disagree. I still think you could get your own data, and I disagree that it's not about cuts.
Well, that's your opinion, and I'll accept that. Yep. Councilor McLaughlin.
If I could comment on that, I do think there is a breakdown in the annual reports. I've seen some of them anyway that outline the staff. I was looking at one report from 2007. So,
2000.
2007. So if you
Okay.
can look in the reports, you might get a pretty good idea. I don't know everybody's name, unfortunately, but I think it's there, and it shows, you know, if you look at our population rate since then, and then how many staff we have, you might find we're not that far out of alignment. I think what was not really a fair comment in your recommendation is that you say it's a commonly held view that governments and agencies are overstaffed.
Mhm.
I don't hold that. I don't know. Where do you think that's commonly held? I think that's an unfair statement, and that is not really gonna set things off as a good start. If you start off with, I think it's an inflammatory statement to say something like that. I was looking back at a little table we had for tax increases back in the day, what was it, you were mayor, 2011 to 14? You had no 3% tax increase for capital. And you did have projects where you did
So-
use a lot of that
Councilor McLaughlin,
money.
instead of making it about me,
No, I'm making about the budget. And so we have been adding since 2017, except for 2020, a 3% tax increase for capital. So this is where a certain large amount of our tax increase is going. We are trying to build infrastructure. And when I talk to people, they say they do support the tax increases as long as they're told and are comfortable with what that money is for. They don't expect us during a time of interest rates and havoc to pay less taxes. It's just not been our experience nor a reasonable expectation. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Okay, anything else? I think it's clear that there's not will of council to proceed with this, so it is in the record that I tried, and I look to each of you to figure out a better way to deliver on our fundamental requirement, which is to deliver the best services that we can afford. That will move on to item 7.1. This is the minutes of the meeting of June 25th. And it is before us for not just the receipt of the minutes, but staff are looking for us to endorse the Child Care Action Plan. Well, if you look at your agenda, you'll see the specific recommendation from staff. On page 2 of our agenda package. So what is your motion, Councilor Inkster? And that's a second. Okay, any questions? I had one about the childcare action plan. In endorsing it, are there any costs associated to us from endorsing this plan in the next 6 months?
No, there's no costs related to endorsing the plan.
Great, thank you. And then the issue of the beach access for the paddlers, council, I learned tonight, in fact, just before the meeting, the Strata Council is having a meeting, an information meeting, I believe, on the 30th of June to talk about the paddling. It appears that there's some people that are of a view that it's great, and there are some of a view that it needs further discussion. So since I was just told that, I wanted to make sure this council is aware of that. The motion that we'd be endorsing is to still provides that there's a number of hurdles to be crossed before anything could happen. But it is, I think it's fair to say that the Strata Council has not yet followed their process, a normal process for a Strata Council to formally give us approval or confirm that they are supportive of this. I emphasize the word formal. Sorry, that you were looking like. No, I okay. Understand. All right. So with that, you're moving. What's your motion?
Yeah, I moved it. And what are you talking about? I moved the information as presented in a second.
Okay. Did we get a seconder?
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Yes, Councillor Toth.
Thank you. I appreciate that the Edgewater development has to have an information meeting because I guess the residents there are not all in agreement. That's great. I don't think that changes our ability to endorse this, especially since we don't have anything from the Edgewater Strata in writing. But we have said here that the paddle club has to get a letter of support from the Strata prior to approval. So I think this process will unfold as it can.
Okay. No, not at this point. We can ask a question afterwards, Lorraine. Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Wells, SCRD reports. Who's going first and what's?
Sure, I'll go first and Councillor Inkster can fill in whatever I've missed. The Coastal Sports, the Coastal Tsunami company came to the SCRD to sort of provide an end of season overview and talk about, you know, what worked well with recreation and what worked well with the staff, and talk about some of the things that they're working on over the coming sort of summer season and then into next year. I know that they're going to be coming back, or at least there's going to be a request coming to the board next week for extended ice time to allow them to provide some spring camps. There's a contract award finally went out for a multimodal evacuation plan, which is for the entire Sunshine Coast. The regional district has done a couple of little area plans for like Tewanek and Egmont and an area just outside of Gibsons. But this would be looking at evacuation planning for the entire Sunshine Coast, multimodal, so roads, water, air, whatever it takes. And so that work will be getting underway shortly. There was a request from Sunshine Coast Tourism that the board supported for an increase to the MRDT to go from 2% to 3%. And the question came up that I didn't actually have the answer to about whether Sunshine Coast Tourism is also going to be coming to the District of Sechelt looking for a letter of support from us for the MRDT renewal. So that might be a question for the corporate officer here when I'm done. Grant application was submitted to UBCM for funding for the Langdale Wellfield project. That'd be $7 million or up to $7 million. probably to offset borrowing, but there could be an opportunity to maybe repatriate some of the growing community funds or something else. It doesn't have to offset the borrowing costs. The temporary foreign worker motion of support that we dealt with here a few weeks back was supported by committee of the whole unanimously at the regional district. And the transit improvement plan came to the board for costing around various scheduling improvements. And so that's gone away. Staff will take that away, work with BC Transit to bring back some costing for the fall. And so, you know, when we talk about new projects like affordable housing up by the arena and stuff like that, staff at the SCRD knowing about these sort of projects is really important, because then they can start to look at what that is going to, or how that's going to impact transit. The electric ferry running out of Gibson's Harbor, you know, they're not looking at operating until 2027. They've already been talking to BC Transit and SCRD staff because they want to look at how transit might have to accommodate, you know, park and rides or just the influx of people coming across on that boat. So I think that's it for past stuff. Tomorrow, there's some water items on the agenda, but I'll leave that for the next report. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Inkster.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, lots of discussion about water, as always there is. Just to have the presentations that came to us last week, it was Chair Toth did talk about the important items that are there, but one thing to mention about the Coastal Tsunami presenting is they have a really good fan base. So a lot of their games are near sellout, which means that the cost to the owners may not be as high as in other areas where, and you know, once again, sustainability of the hockey team continuing to be on the Sunshine Coast. I also, one thing mentioned is they're changing leagues too. There's a slight league change. I think it's up to a higher league. But the good fan base is like I said, good. So that means they're getting a lot of people spending money and on the tickets and in-house to help them pay for running the hockey team. And the people that are involved are really good, especially the GM that comes and talks to us. He's very enthusiastic and he knows the game so very well. The evacuation pieces that are there, I think this council knows that Councillor Toth and myself talk a lot and go on and on about evacuation, not only on the Sunshine Coast, but in particular in Sechelt with our concerns around my concerns. And I think Councillor Toth backs those up about the inlet and how we would evacuate in case there was a forest fire up in there, which is the big concern. Is we're always concerned about fire, is how we would get that. So I'm glad they're continuing to put money into those plans in terms of Sechelt, because it worries me. One day there will be a fire here. Let's not be naive. The transit plan that's been mentioned a couple of times and in reference to our plan, and that Ms. Lee was talking about, that we've had some consultation with, the pieces that we've also been talking a lot about and pushing for is the piece north of town. So those are the routes that go into the shores, as was talked about, that go to West Sechelt, that go up Calgary to West Sechelt, and they go to Half Moon Bay, because that's where the growth mainly has been identified and has occurred in the last number of years. So it's good to see some more frequent buses into those areas. And there will be over the next number of years. And I think I mentioned that at this table. The water report was good. I sent, I can send out to the rest of council too. I sent out to the two alternates the second stage over the last number of years for the water. Stage 2 is usually around this time in July every year, it seems, no matter how much rain we have. It's very much in July. It's just when 3 and 4 kick in is the difference. And then, as we know from 2022, there was a drought at the end of the summer, which was very problematic. So we don't know what will happen this summer at the end, but that was where the problems occurred, 3 and 4, and then there was the issues. But we've tried to create some redundancies, as this council knows, with the wells that we've opened up. Just wanted to mention one kind of environmental thing. They did the greenhouse gas emissions analysis, came back to the regional district, and there has been a reduction in the greenhouse gases created by the organization. But I will say one of the biggest greenhouse gas emitter problems they have is our aquatic center, and it's huge. And I don't know how to fix that. I don't know I guess it's a water, probably most likely heating of all the air in the building, but also the water takes a lot of gas and electricity for different things. So it's a big greenhouse gas emitter for the regional district right next door to us, but we all love having it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Start at our end with Councillor Bell and just go this way, please.
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Shepherd.
Just one item attended with the mayor, the second quarter update from the RCMP on with their statistics. They mentioned a very interesting pilot program where they've got funding for an officer who, and please correct me if I'm wrong, as a coordinator between, sort of a mental health coordinator between VCH and the police. So we all know that mental health takes up a lot of their response time at certain times of the year. So we'll see if this is a more effective way of dealing with it. Very interesting pilot program. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Inkster.
And thanks. Been really busy summer with, I rarely say this because there's other things going on, but really busy work summer and political summer so far. But it's really hot. I don't know if anyone's, it seems really hot this July.
Okay, we'll take that as a given. Councillor McLaughlin.
Yes, thank you through the chair. I brought one of my green apples. Remember Gary Feschuk said, always bring something from the outside in to your meetings to remind you that this artificial, mostly plastic environment is not what we need to survive. What we need is real things from nature, like especially food. So I had a bumper crop for some reason, and I have a bear. We all know there's a bear around. Apparently there's 8 bears in Sandy Hook, so I've only seen one in the downtown. But you do have to clear your fruit away as soon as possible. So I brought 2 boxes to the food bank this morning. They're quite happy to have them. And I would encourage people to do that, to bring the fresh produce if they have any excess. Pick it early, bring it to the food bank. I'm not going to use her name, but there is one lady that I've got to know recently that grows quite a large farm on Tyson Road, and she actually donates all of her produce. And I went to her farm. There's a lot of good food there, all of it to the food bank. So I was very impressed. Almost encourages me to grow a bigger garden, to have more to donate. But so I just want to commend her for that work she does. She doesn't need to do it, but she does it because she thinks it's really important for the environment to grow organically and to feed the public here. Just on an environmental issue that Darren and I usually agree on is had a pretty sad interview on the CBC with David Suzuki this week, where he said that depending on who you count, which tipping points, but 7 of 9 tipping points have been surpassed. And so, yes, it is hot. Yes, we do have more fires. We're going to have more. And there will always be more water issues. So this is the reality. And so I'm hoping that I would have hoped, we've approved a lot of development. To me, we haven't done enough on the environmental file, as they call it. But I hope we can get to that and really start taking the best care we can of this place. Thanks.
Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Not too much to report, but in the vein of what Councillor McLaughlin was getting at with gardens and the outdoors, took up installing a micro irrigation system for the first time ever in my backyard. And oh boy, does it make a difference in the garden. For us, the struggle has always been to keep everything watered. Like plants will generally grow themselves as long as you give them water. And micro irrigation being, really low consumption, really directed where it's needed, quite minimally, using of the water. But the difference in what's been coming out of the garden has been absolutely astronomical. And I look forward to the opportunity to match Councillor McLaughlin's apples with some pears later this month, so, or next month. So that's really all I got. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I attended the Sunshine Coast Chamber of Commerce meeting today. I was asked to join them. I was pleased to see Councillor Deandrade from Gibson's and Kate Louise Stamford from Gambier there as well. It's a good group with the coast-wide aware vision and responsibility. So it's a little different than it has been in years gone by. The policing update's been discussed, Community Forest Board meeting on Monday. Continued to work with the employees and employers related to the Keep Families Together initiative. We're starting to brand it as much needed workers in Sechelt. And I can tell you from a couple of meetings the employers have had, they're going to have a job fair. I brought props. They'll bring a job fair on July 29th at Seaside Center. We hope anybody who is looking for a job or knows somebody who's looking for a job, please have them come. The group so far, we think there'll be at least a dozen companies. They all are hiring. They're desperately eager to find, this is permanent jobs and part-time, depending on what you're looking for. So the fundamental thing is our community, we don't have enough workers. And that is what I'm hearing from the employers. Thank you to the SCRD, and I also talking to Mayor White, Gibson's is very supportive of this initiative. Reminder looking ahead, we've got the Coasters Car Club. I went to their meeting on Monday night. They're gung-ho and ready to go. The old boys keep going. Cars get older every year. So do we, but they're looking for a big show, both in the Rod Run and the Show and Shine. And last but not least, I have a very dear friend who bought her first home today in Sechelt, first home ever. So I wanted to acknowledge her for confidence in Sechelt and actually using a first-time home buyers program, which I don't think I know anybody who's ever used. Oh, that's that. Anything else? Not a motion to adjourn. Seconded, all in favor. Time for questions.